Wonder Tribe, what is up? Today, I just wanted to talk to you guys about 500 Days of Summer. So, I recently rewatched this movie, and I used to watch it all the time with my friends in high school, actually, and I would actually give an analysis of it and what we learned. And the cool thing I like about the movie is how basically you can pretty much get a new meaning from it depending on what age you're at in your life. And recently, I just wanted to rewatch it and dive into it. And I think we can learn a lot from the movie. Like, the main character pretty much is in love with Summer. But we do a lot of what he does now in our own relationships, right? And that thing is pretty much we put an idea on someone and we try to make them fit that thing. So we'll be like, hey, I like you and this is what I want in a relationship. So you're going to do that. And that's the interesting thing about that movie is she tells him from the very beginning, hey, I'm not looking for anything serious. But in his mind, he's not really hearing that. He's like, no, you are the one that I want. You're the one for me. I'm basically just going to spend time with you and we're going to fall in love. So a lot of what he goes through is pretty much self-inflicted because she told him upfront what she wanted, whether that be through words or actions. And in his mind, he was pretty much like, no, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to woo you. And I just think we really do that a lot, way too much on our own. We'll be on dating apps or we'll meet someone who's really pretty and we'll rationalize every reason as to why this person is the one instead of actually thinking hey, what signs are they actually giving me? What are they actually doing? Because like I said, it's this weird thing as humans like to do. We like to, instead of hearing what people say, we want to make it be something that we thought it would always be. So how can we fix this, right? I genuinely think that we need to actually take people for what they say and not what we want them to be. We need to not try to read between the lines and just read between what it is. So for example, if a girl says, hey, let's just be friends, don't take that as a sign that we need to go find a way to have this person become our wife. Because we do that a lot. I've been guilty of it. I know some of my friends have been guilty of it. And it's just not healthy. And in the movie, it's all about perspective, right? So everyone, when I was younger, I looked at Summer as some major villain. I was like, nah, she's wrong. But then rewatching it now, I'm it's crazy because she obviously didn't want what he wanted. And in the end, it kind of just bit him in the butt, and then the crazy thing is that she even ends up getting married after saying she doesn't want to get married. And maybe that kind of happened because maybe they were just going with the flow and living with the moment and not, putting so much expectation on each other. And I genuinely feel that's how healthy dating should be. You have to be secure in yourself to where you can allow someone to just be them and not have to force them into a certain role or position, because we do that a lot. We like to force people into everything that we want them to be instead of just enjoying the moment of who they actually are. So with that being said, let's learn from this, all right? let's become people who are secure enough in ourselves to where we can work on ourselves and be okay when people don't align with what we want to be with. And one common thing I always hear is like, oh, I don't want to date because it's a waste of time. And I'm like, yeah, it's a waste of time because you have this big expectation. And I just feel like back in the day, pre-social media, like this wasn't the expectation. The expectation was just hanging out with people, getting to know them, having a fun time. And people were eventually just like, hey, you know what? You're cool. Like, I like you. Let's keep doing this. So we need more of that in the world. And the cool thing about the movie too is like at the end, when the season passes, he meets Autumn, and he met Autumn when he was fully 100% working on himself. He stopped putting so much emphasis on his love life, which I feel that is the big thing that we do as people, is that we take ourselves and our identities out of, our individualism, and we just turn ourselves into these people whose whole identity is getting into a relationship. But when he finally got his architecture right, and when he finally started focusing on himself and bettering himself, he ends up running into somebody who was happened to be in the same position as him. And obviously the movie ends on a cliffhanger, so we don't know if they actually end up together, but I'm sure he's going to have a way better chance because he's not putting his ideas and stuff on her. So just food for thought, man. Like, we definitely need to be better, and we definitely got to just keep going when it comes to our self-improvement so that we don't have to be so self-reliant when it comes to this dating world and this dating pool, so that we don't have to be so like, oh my gosh, like the world is ending after one person rejects us. There's literally, what is the saying? There's a plenty of fish in the sea, but we don't believe that more. We don't believe that anymore. Sorry. We actually end up putting so much weight onto one person that when that one person doesn't work out, we act like we just never gonna find someone who we're compatible with. And like I said, that goes back to this idea thing where we idolize these people, and it's insane, right? So we'll find someone who we're compatible with. We'll find someone who has similar interests as us. And we just think, okay, this is it. This is the only person that I could ever be with because I just cannot see myself with anyone else. And then we become so heartbroken when it doesn't work out that we literally give up on every single other person that may even be a better suit for us. So again, let's get back to sharing ourselves with people with no expectation. Let's get back to just bettering ourselves and not just becoming so self-reliant. And then I'll even give you guys an example of this for myself. Like recently I was talking to this girl and she didn't want kids and I wanted kids. And for a little bit at a time, I was kind of convinced in my mind, hey, if I spend enough time with her, she'll like me enough to where I can convince her to have kids. But ultimately that didn't end up working out. And what do you think happened? We get to go our separate ways. So instead of me, being all hell bent and heartbroken over this situation, I kind of just was like, you know what? It's okay for us not to be together. Let's just, continue to go our separate ways, and I'll let you find someone who also doesn't want kids. And then I'll find someone who does want kids. And, could I say it was a waste of time? Sure. But in the midst of all the experiences that I had with this girl, I learned a ton about myself. So we got to stop doing that as well, where we're just constantly saying, oh, it's a waste of time, or I don't have time. It's just, or I'm not focused on this thing, because relationships are like mirrors. They give us a reflection of who, we need to become and the wounds that we have and that we need to work on. And keeping this in mind, like I said, it will turn us into better people the more people that we date with the right mindset. And we just become so close-minded all the time, where it's impossible for us to even have healthy relationships because we're just so worried that someone is going to do us dirty because of our idea of them. So, what do you guys think? Are you someone who puts a lot of emphasis on someone else and makes them feel like they have to conform to what you believe? Because if you are, then maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's why you haven't found Mr. Right. Maybe that's why we haven't found, you know, the person that we want to spend the rest of our lives with. And like I said, we just end up in this cycle of over and over and over again, wanting to just be like, hey, like the dating pool was just terrible and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, well, if it's so terrible, then what are we going to do? Just be single forever and not reproduce and not have a family and kids? Because I'm under the mindset right now that I would rather get rejected 1,000,000 times, you know, because all I need is one. And the right one will better my life, and she won't have to conform because our ideas and values will align. So continue just to work on yourself, continue to heal, and continue to have a healthier mindset. And let's learn from the movie. Let's stop putting so much emphasis and, you know, just pressure on other people, and let's become better. Let's allow people space to be themselves, and let's allow ourselves to figure out what it is that we actually want, instead of coming in with a preconceived idea of how our relationship should actually go. So, Wonder Tribe, if you enjoyed this conversation, enjoyed this little rant, give me a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys soon. Also, check out the movie if you haven't seen it. It's a great movie. I know it's a rom-com, but it's so fire. One of the greatest movies I've ever seen. So, yeah. See you guys soon. Logging out.